Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're breaking down a story that's all about high ambition, massive risk, and, well, a pretty dramatic market exit. We're talking about Stake.com, the crypto gambling giant, and its spectacular crash and burn in the United Kingdom.
I mean, how does that even happen? A billion-dollar company forced out of a major market in just 3 years. Stake.com, they stormed into the UK with a ton of cash and this super aggressive playbook, ready to just dominate, and then, poof, gone. So what on earth went wrong? Well, it turns out it's a perfect case study of what happens when that move fast and break things attitude smacks right into a wall of strict regulation.
All right, so let's get into it. To really get why they fell so hard, you first have to understand just how high they climbed. When Stake.com showed up, they weren't just another betting site. Nope, they were a full-blown phenomenon.
So these guys started back in 2017, and they basically just threw out the old rulebook. Their secret sauce? Cryptocurrency. It made gambling feel instant, global, borderless, and it was perfect for a new generation of digital natives. They were the cool, edgy new kid on the block in a pretty stuffy, traditional industry.
And believe me, they had the numbers to prove it. This was no small startup. We're talking about a global powerhouse. 5 million registered users. That's a huge user base.
And get this, the platform was handling over 80 billion transactions a year. 80 billion. With that kind of scale, that's what gave them the confidence and, the cash to go after one of the toughest, most competitive markets in the world, the UK.
But man, their UK journey was just a flash in the pan. They rolled in late 2021, and right away they made a massive splash. How? By signing the biggest shirt sponsorship deal in the history of Everton Football Club. That was a huge statement. But fast forward to early 2025, and it was all over.
But, that high-impact strategy, it hit a wall, and it hit it fast. The exact same things that made Stake.com a smash hit everywhere else, well, they turned into huge liabilities under the microscope of the UK regulators.
And funny enough, the trouble didn't even start with Stake themselves. It was with their UK partner, a company called TGP Europe. They were running what's called a white label operation. Basically, TGP had the license, and Stake was just using their platform to operate in the UK. But here's the catch. That meant TGP's problems were about to become Stake's problems.
And oh boy, were those problems serious. TGP got slapped with a pretty hefty fine for massive compliance failures. We're talking about really serious stuff like failing to protect vulnerable players and not having the right anti-money laundering checks. And just like that, a giant regulatory microscope was aimed squarely at Stake's UK business.
But that fine, that was really just the first domino to fall. The final nail in the coffin? It was a single, really poorly judged social media ad. An ad that would unravel their entire multi-million-pound operation in the UK. This was the moment everything went from bad to catastrophic.
This ad was a complete disaster. It had an adult actress, Bonnie Blue, standing outside a university with this provocative line. For the UK Gambling Commission, this set off every single alarm bell. You're linking gambling with sex, and you look like you're targeting young, vulnerable adults. They launched an investigation almost instantly.
So you can see how this was just a toxic combination, right? That big fine had already put them on thin ice. This marketing scandal, it didn't just crack the ice, it completely shattered it. So instead of waiting around for more penalties, Stake.com made a huge call. They surrendered their license and just got out of the UK altogether.
Okay, so what's the big takeaway here? What can the rest of the iGaming world learn from this whole mess? Because really, Stake.com's UK exit is a massive cautionary tale for any brand that has those big global ambitions.
When you break it down, this whole story really shines a light on 3 key areas where that massive ambition just crashed headfirst into reality. It all boils down to that tricky balance between going for aggressive growth and actually operating responsibly. So let's talk advertising. In a tightly regulated market like the UK, there's a super fine line between bold and reckless. Compliant marketing is all about responsible messaging, data-driven odds, that kind of thing. Stake's approach, the edgy stuff that works so well in other places, it was just seen as provocative and irresponsible in the UK. It's a classic case of not reading the room, or, in this case, not reading the regulator's rulebook.
And what about compliance? Look, that first fine seems like the big cost, right? But it was just the tip of the iceberg. The real damage wasn't the money. It was the complete loss of access to a key market and the huge hit to their reputation. And those are consequences that create ripples way, way beyond just the UK.
And that right there is the key lesson. See, compliance failures have this domino effect. A major screw-up in the UK sends red flags flying to regulators all over the world. In Europe, North America, you name it, they all talk to each other. So doors that you thought were wide open for business can suddenly slam shut. Just like that.
So, where does all this leave Stake.com? Are they just beaten and broken? Well, not exactly. They're actually reframing this whole thing as a strategic pivot, a change in direction.
So their official story is that they're moving away from those white label partnerships that got them into so much trouble. Instead, they're going to focus on markets where they have direct control, and this is the important part, where the advertising rules are a lot looser. So they're doubling down on places like Latin America and Asia. And their huge global deals, like with Formula One and the UFC, those are still going strong. That Everton partnership, though, yeah, that's definitely in question now.
Which really brings us to the heart of this entire story, doesn't it? It leaves us with one final and I think crucial question for any ambitious brand out there.
I mean, if Stake.com's story tells us anything, it's that the answer is a huge, resounding yes. In the high-stakes world of online gaming, playing by the rules isn't just a good idea. It's the only way you get to stay in the game. And that's something every single operator should be thinking about before they place their next big bet on marketing.